if you go up and you say, I'm discouraged or I've been depressed, oh, that's not of God. We rebuke you, devil. I wish it was that easier. I mean, really. Because of the truth of the matter is, our souls, like in the 23rd Psalm, our soul can get into torment. And our spirit man can be strong. And most people who are sailing through planet Earth either are in denial or on Prozac. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, because I know after our son died, I went to the Christian bookstore, and this was 15 years ago. And I mean, he was our only son that died of a heart attack. Just instantly. And I went to the Christian bookstore when I was able to get out of bed a couple of weeks later. And I remember when I went there, I kept thinking, I can't handle this kind of pain. And I tried to find a book I could relate to. So I went to the grief department. I couldn't relate to these people. I really couldn't. I mean, I bought a book about this many of them. And I went home, and they all talked about dancing. And they got up and danced. I thought, are you kidding? I fainted. I mean, everything I read was so pie in the sky, I couldn't even relate to it. You know, so what it did, I just felt guiltier and guiltier and guiltier. So I just shut everything down. I thought, oh my gosh, I must be a real backslidden Christian. But I thought, one thing, I'm honest about it. Because I remember when they asked me to come to a prison, I said, you don't want to hear what I think of God right now. Click, so much for that. Never did invite me back. I have no clue why. But the truth of the matter is that sometimes we do not understand the word that says, in the world you will have tribulation. And so when we get tribulation, we're not prepared for it. That to me is the most horrible teaching there can possibly be. That's like telling a soldier that's prepared in the military, you know what, you're never going to see the enemy, but we're sending you off to Iraq. That's what it's like, really it is. It's saying, you know what, you're going to have all this money come to you and you get a bright, shiny gun, but you'll never have to use it. And I promise you, your uniform will never get dirt on it. Now, Fred was in the Army for 20 years, and I want you to know, he would come home sometime from living out in the field for 2 weeks. He looked like he'd been living out in the field for 2 weeks, because he couldn't find any place to take a bath in. I mean, he'd take his shoes off out in the hall. You know, I mean, he would undress next to the wash machine. And I mean, and Fred was in infantry. He taught guys how to blow up things. You know, I remember getting a letter from him saying when he was basic training, he said, I've never heard of this place, Vietnam, but I sure hope I don't go there. Next letter I get, well, I'm going to Vietnam. And so he was there twice. But just think if he had never been prepared in the military and had always been said, don't worry, we're only training you, because he was involuntary classified to go to infantry time. He actually was in quartermaster, a ration breakdown. He handled the food, so we'd always have food coming in. But he handled the food. In fact, he was so good at it, he was at the top 5% in the whole government. We got extra money, $30 or $40 a month, wasn't it, babe? Yeah, so we always made sure he'd get real good because of extra money, because he was so good at his job. So they took this man who's highly trained at his job and gave him a gun and said, now we're going to teach you how to blow up things, because of the war in Vietnam. Now, what if realistically, as Christians, that we say, don't you worry, now you have given your life to the Lord. From here on forth, you will never have the flu. You will never have a cold. You're going to have a bank account that is going to be beyond. I mean, your whole life. And at work, forget it, you're going right to the presidency. And you're going to have such favor. Everything you touch, you're going to have the Midas touch. You're going to be like the Christian Oprah. I mean, come on, who wouldn't go to that kind of altar call? Do you understand what I'm telling you? And so what happens is when the reality of life hits, you know, and I know tremendous people who have been through divorces. Tremendous people, only to be left with the stigma on them. Do you see what I mean? And I look at these people that are so awesome, and I'm going, good Lord. I mean, what was it? Stupid is stupid? But I mean, I look at things in life that do not, and I look at these awesome parents, and you look at these kids and you go, are you a demon seed? But I mean, you don't know. Or you look at these awesome kids and you go, how did you come out like you are from that crazy house? I mean, it can go all kinds of directions. Because you look at things and you wonder, what's the deal down here? Because in the natural, this walk does not make sense. I want you to understand that. First of all, understand it does not make sense in the natural. And so what happens, Satan always will try to bring you and me into the natural thinking. Because if he can get us into our soulish thinking, we think lower than we ought.